Well, I think it was a dramatic success in historical terms. It was the largest impeachment conviction vote in U.S. history. It was by far the most bipartisan majority that's ever assembled in the Senate to convict a president, which has traditionally been a kind of partisan thing in American history. But we got 7 Republicans, and if you look at the 10 Republicans in the House who joined us, it was by far the most bipartisan decision and a complete repudiation of the president's conduct. Now, unfortunately, it didn't reach the 2/3 majority in the Senate. We're explaining this to foreign journalists who can't understand why he wasn't convicted with a 57-43 vote, a 14-vote margin. Well, you need 2/3. But I think that we successfully prosecuted him and convicted him in the court of public opinion and in the court of history. He's obviously a major political problem for the Republican Party, and as long as he's out there attempting to wage war on American constitutional democracy, he's a problem for all of us.
That is lead House impeachment manager, Congressman Jamie Raskin, speaking yesterday with Chuck Todd on Meet the Press. Joining us now, former acting U.S. Solicitor General and MSNBC legal contributor Neil Katyal, professor of history at New York University, Ruth Ben-Ghiat, and staff writer at The Atlantic, David Frum. Good morning to you all. David, your latest column for the magazine is titled, "It'll Do. Impeachment did not prevail, but Trump still lost." You write that the vote was not enough to convict under the Constitution, wasn't enough to formally disqualify Trump from ever again seeking office in the United States, but practically it will do, you write, as a solemn and eternal public repudiation of Trump's betrayal of his oath of office. David, obviously many Democrats and many people in this country are disappointed that we didn't get to the 67 vote threshold that would have impeached Donald Trump. I don't think most people expected realistically for that to happen. But what did the Senate say on Saturday, particularly those 7 Republicans who voted to convict Donald Trump?
Well, let's take a step back and understand how impeachment was originally supposed to work. When the Constitution was created, when the impeachment mechanism was installed in it, the framers of the Constitution didn't really understand how the Senate would work. They didn't know what the Senate was, and they largely guessed wrong about how it would evolve. They imagined it as a body outside politics, a body that could act as a kind of court when needed, a body that could advise the president when needed. Now, history hasn't gone that way. The Senate has evolved into a partisan body, just like the House of Representatives, maybe a little less partisan than the House of Representatives, but not that much. So the 2/3 requirement is a legacy of a time when people thought the Senate would work in a different way from the way it actually ended up working. But when you see how the Senate did end up working, to get 57 votes does what the 2/3 was supposed to do, which is it says this is not an act of partisan revenge. This is not one party attacking the other. This is a statement by the center of gravity of American public opinion, not only 57 of the senators, not only the 56% of the public that thought that Donald Trump ought to be convicted, but the 70% of the public that thought he did something wrong. Only fewer than 25% of the country thinks Donald Trump did nothing wrong. It affixes infamy to him. That's what this mechanism is supposed to do. I mean, Donald Trump was never going to run again anyway. That's not the real problem. The real problem is to affix infamy to this figure and to say that this riot he provoked, this insurrection he inspired, this is utterly unacceptable. And not only the opposing party thinks so, every decent person thinks so.
And Ruth, how extraordinary, you write about strong men, you write about authoritarianism over the course of history. How extraordinary to see someone like Mitch McConnell, the minority leader, vote to acquit President Trump, and then to go on the floor moments later and make a long speech laying out all the ways that President Trump, in fact, incited an insurrection and saying, hey, now it's in the Justice Department's hands. Now it's in the court's hands to go after this man. What did you see in the proceedings, not just on Saturday, but over the last couple of weeks during the impeachment process?
This is an existential struggle between the old and the new GOP. And I'll never forget the sight of McConnell and others in the hushed chamber with all its decorum, observing these protocols while this mob was outside. But Mitch McConnell enabled that mob. And to me, the whole saga through the acquittal just reinforces that the GOP is a far-right party. Comparative politics studies line it up not with conservative parties, but with far-right parties that are part of, Modi in India and Erdogan. And make no mistake, the acquittal of Trump was a vote for a philosophy of politics that says that violence is an acceptable recourse to solve your problems, which goes back to fascism in the age of military coups. This was a coup attempt. And it also channels the 21st century idea that election results that you don't like become just another, information point to be denied and fabricated, replaced with the information you need to stay in office. So this is all of it is very indicative of the GOP having an authoritarian political culture.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.